Okay, so this is an official opening. Earlier on we had an unofficial opening. So once again, welcome. Welcome in Portugal, welcome in Villarreal, and welcome at the university. Okay? And this course is organized within the project Culture Plus, which joins 6 countries. And in this course we have members of 5 countries. Only Poland will not be present. And we will do lots of things too. This week it's a very intensive program, but we've been preparing it with a lot of attention, and we think it's very diverse, and we hope you will like it, because we designed it to please you and to give you the opportunity to learn something. So perhaps you want to talk a little bit about Culture Plus?
First of all, welcome also to you all. We are very happy to have a group like you here, a little group, but I think if we think that it's Sunday afternoon, it's not so little, and we are always trying to remain, to live our messages, our knowledge, our information, that we hope that is useful for you, entrepreneurs, or interested in students of tourism, of culture-related programs. We are very happy to leave some useful material and information that will also continue in the virtual way, because this is a blended course. Has this presential part, this intense, and I hope a very great and nice week. We are going to spend time together to do networking, to know our projects, our professions, our interests, and to share these interests, I hope, and to make durable links. So, Culture Plus project is a project about cultural tourism. It's cultural tourism. It's based mostly in tourism in cultural roots. We thought it was interesting to link the analysis, the diagnosis, the research on cultural roots with the entrepreneurship and the search for job opportunities that are very important, and for opportunities for local development, very important in the inland territories where there is no beach, there is no sun and beach tourism, but we have these routes like the pilgrims ways to St. James, for example, traversing Villarreal, Viseu, and all the little villages that start probably to change with this flow of pilgrims from many different countries. It's, I think, the only way to bring people from Korea, for example, to villages like Satang or whatever is the next village here for the way. So this is the spirit of Culture Plus. It's a project a little bit fragile in a sense that it's really in this time we are living of many things happening in our societies, in our lives. It's difficult to keep an idea, a project idea or a project business in time, and even to be involved in a project during 2 years or 2 years and a half. That is at last the duration of Culture Plus project. It started September 2015 and it will end February 2018. We have done some different actions. Another summer course that took place in Cáceres last year. We have done done some, we are preparing some virtual courses that we hope that you will be interested in and maybe engage, because we are focusing very much in the tourism, cultural tourism sector, even they are course interesting for entrepreneurs or for people that is trying to develop a business idea, a business project. But we have, for example, we will have digital storytelling that is transversal, is applicable to many fields, many interests. We will have international project management that is useful also for students and for people that is working in many different business, because European projects really links business and give opportunities really in times, in terms of crisis or in times of development. It's anytime. We will have some conferences. We have done also some workshops, seminars. We have done research. We have analyzed websites, for example, to see if they properly do marketing of their places. We have done participant observation in the routes. We have been in the hostels also. We have interviewed pilgrims, hostel managers, to know a little bit about the routes, their characteristics and their weakness, opportunities, manages, short analysis. I will not take much time for talking about Culture Plus, but I would like to speak a little bit more about this course. It's very important, some details administrative that we have to deal with. Very important that you register, because that way we have your address that has to be in the seats, in the present seats, so we can justify also with the national, with the Erasmus program. I think it's very important to do an interactive, participative course, because we profit, we are not very much, even though we will be gaining in numbers. Tonight we will come some three partners, three students and professors from Greece, and we are also looking for one student from Bulgaria that will probably join us also. They will come also other specialists from Spain in tourism, in quality tourism, so they will not formally give a lecture or communication, but they will also contribute as well as we expect your contribution anytime during the lessons, during the practices, practical activities, during the visits. We like to learn about Villarreal and Trás Montes and Douro, this region. We like to learn about Portugal, to speak and learn about Spain, because we are also always doing Ollares Cruzados, cross views, and comparing one culture, one gastronomy, food with other. It's very interesting, the cultural interchange, very enriching. And I hope also we join in a virtual campus, in the Moodle. We can start joining to prepare for the virtual course that is included. In this course, it's included the virtual part. As well as that virtual course, we have another parallel course. But for this, we will be all together. And we will be all sharing, as I say, knowledge and professional interests. That I think we have many things to share, because we have guides, we have people that have studied tourism or are working with tourism, we have researchers that are researching tourism, we have entrepreneurs planning business related with cultural roots and cultural tourism. So I really think, like all other be a little familiar group is that we can have a very great time during the activities and after in the third times, as we said, in dinner, after dinner. We have brought also the music from Spain, and always we bring a little bit of our culture where we go, and we are very glad to be a little bit ambassadors also, and present our character, especially our culture, and to share with you. I think I have studied as an anthropologist very much relationships between Portugal and Spain, Portuguese and Spanish, and I think we complement each other very well. We admire things that Portuguese have. Well, when we say we, I don't want to fall in essentialism or like that. In general, there's something in the air and in the people that we find, for example, Portuguese people very educated, more than we are. We educate in the sense that we, for example, we say many these words, little snails, bad words in television even, and we make so familiar bad words that they are not bad, so we say that's the problem. But we like, normally you are more quiet, all that. So I think we can have a very great time. Also, not only Portuguese and Spanish, of course, we have Italians, we have a little bit of Belgium still remaining here, of course, and we have also Greece, Bulgaria, maybe, who knows, maybe another nationality. But if I don't forget anything, that we have most of the time for still remaining things and saying things about the course, I just give you the words if you want to say anything more about the course.
No, I don't want to add anything. The places where we teach are constantly changing. And normally it's because it's logical, because it makes things more easy, okay? So that's not on the program, but I will try always to tell you. So for example, your class tonight, this building is great, it's fantastic, but if we now go and see the corridors and we have to come back and then go back to eat, it's not interesting. So we now go and see the corridors, we eat over there, and then we go to a room which is not that good, but it's there. And so the next class is over there. But you will see the quality difference level between this room and the one you will teach, but that's for practical reasons, okay? And every day will be a little bit different. So tomorrow, for example, will be the whole day in this room and also on the campus, okay? So tomorrow we come back to this place, and then every time I will give practical information. So let us start with the first class, perhaps.
We can also, in the Moodle platform that we share, to upload the program, the last version, so you can have the program accessible anytime. And maybe do some copies also to share tomorrow with all of you. Okay, so I have prepared a presentation for the first lesson, we can say, first communication. Okay. I always say it's a little sad when we speak in English. Mediterranean cultures and languages, but I would be very happy to speak in Spanish or Portuguese, but I think for the posterity we can also do it easier speaking in English, and anyway the presentation is prepared in English, so it's easier for me to follow it in English.
Okay, the title of this presentation is Cultural Mediation and Heritage Interpretation. I would ask Verokika if you please afterwards a little bit of water when you can. These are acknowledgements I had to do not only to Culture Plus but also to the funding of my actual position. Okay, this is the table of contents that we are going to deal in this presentation. We are going to talk about a conceptual framework, to talk about cultural mediation, cultural heritage, and of course what is behind the concept of culture. I am an anthropologist, so for me it's very familiar to speak about culture, but we understand anthropologists that when we speak about culture to other professionals, other people that may not have a background in anthropology, you can find different meanings of the word culture. So we are going to try to see what is the concrete meaning and conceptual framework that anthropologists use culture. I will speak a little bit about social anthropology then, and a little bit about anthropology of tourism, and we will focus after in some examples and case studies of cultural mediation and heritage interpretation also. Can you see all right? Can you follow the PowerPoint? Everything okay, so starting with the conceptual framework, I would say that cultural mediation, it's a concept very related, closely related with heritage interpretation. It's true that it's a very polysemic concept, cultural mediation. So in some way, in some acceptions, I don't know, some definitions, it is related, but in others have another traits, another matices. Cultural mediation describes a profession. This is the first definition, okay, that we can deal with. It is always when you look for a concept, always Wikipedia uses to be in the first place, and uses to be to express the definition that we normally will find as general in the public. So these definitions describes says that cultural mediation studies the cultural difference between people using the data in problem solving. This is the important thing in this definition, the problem solving, and it's based in this theoretical framework or theory, the cultural, historical, psychological theory introduced by Lev Vygotsky. Okay, but we go closer to the definitions that are. Thank you very much. That are more close to the anthropological sense. This is another definition that says that it's the process of building bridges between the cultural and social realms, and the building of new relationships between the political, cultural, and public spheres. A little bit what Culture Plus project and many European projects are meant to do, to close, to make closer the relationship between politics, university, enterprise, the market. Okay, then it covers a broad spectrum of practices ranging from audience development activities to participatory and community arts. This is the most important in this second definition. It's related with art. It's cultural mediation, it's art. We mediate culture, but it's always thinking on arts and, as says here, in cultural works and productions. So here the sense of culture is this definition or concept dealing with spectacles, with arts and spectacles. Okay, so it's when we say you are very a cult person, means that have knowledge and have this also this liking for this kind of spectacles, and this is as cultural mediation concern artists and other social players, but it says artists in first place, in education, business, municipal government, and other sectors. Okay, this is a definition taken from France, from an organization from France, the Réseau Culture pour Tous, and is a little bit different of the first one that was based on problem solving. This is based on cultural mediation between the education, politics, administrative, and the business sector, and dealing with art and cultural products. Okay. Also, they speak about social development, revitalization, citizen participation. These are all important lines also of Culture Plus project also, and many other projects, European projects today going on. Okay, a third definition. We talk about cultural mediation in museums. So the cultural mediators, you can see this T-shirt that it says mediador, are people enriching the experience of public in museums. It says here, you maybe cannot read, they are there for consult the visitor about what they require, helping him or her to create a more meaningful visit. Answer any questions the visitor might have about works in the collections, because they have been trained, especially in the museum collection. This is exactly the Museo Nacional Reina Sofía, Centro de Arte. I don't know if you know it. Do you know this museum? It's very important contemporary art museum in Spain. It's in Madrid. It's a very big, huge museum with many collections, and it's really a must if you like art, culture, to go when you go to Madrid. It's very, very close, nearby the El Prado. So we have there in Madrid, we have like 3 museums, very important and very related. El Prado, Thyssen, Bolognese Museum Thyssen. It's also, it's not contemporary, it's art, all centuries almost, paintings and art. And we have Reina Sofía, it's more contemporary, okay? Okay, and cultural mediators in museums carry out guided visits to the collection and give the visitor full information about museum activities, okay? So I think it's very important, this figure in the museums. Okay, we go to a 4th definition, interlinked with translation. And we have here Arcadio, a translator here, an interpreter. So that's for us to begin to know what to... It's good that afterwards we do like a round of presentations, maybe, it will be like a dynamic to know each other. But anyway, we have translators in the classroom, and this is in the sense that cultural mediation is to assist people to communicate effectively with one another when they speak different languages, do not understand certain terms or concepts, or when they are dealing with situations or ideas that are new to them. This kind of mediation is summarized in the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages as follows: the written and oral activities of mediation make communication possible between persons. And now this is added by me. Not only persons, we are talking about communication also between monuments and people, between landscape and people. Landscape is also a vehicle for meaning and for communication. Whatever message and vehicle of meaning. Who are unable, for whatever reason, to communicate, and I say for cultural reasons normally, because we are speaking about cultural mediation, to communicate with each other directly. Translation or interpretation, a paraphrase, summary or record provides for a third party a reformulation of a spoken or written or built, this is in addition of myself, source text to which this third party does not have direct access. Mediating language activities, reprocessing an existing text, occupying an important place in the normal linguistic functioning of our societies. I can recall a phrase of Wittgenstein, the philosopher, Wittgenstein, the limits of my world are the limits of my language. This is very important phrase, sentence, to understand also how anthropology understands culture. Everything of my world is everything I can express, I can put in words. Otherwise, I can feel, but I cannot really explain my feeling that it's what happened to us sometimes. But remember, this phrase is very interesting and very important. The limits of my world are the limits of my language. Okay. So what kind of sources of vehicles of meaning we can find, we can think about? People, it's true, but also written sources, also audiovisual creations, also things, anything, a bottle of water, a bottle of Coca-Cola. It's, for example, in many contexts can mean very different things, okay? Monuments, as I said, landscape. Do you think about any other source of meaning or vehicle of meaning that there is not in this list? Can you think about any other?
Some constructions, some like constructions.
Construction, we can speak about monuments or simple constructions, exactly, like buildings.
You can see the wall of China is a construction. Of course, it's a monument too, but the two things are together. And you can see you can put there when you go to Fatima, Mary. It's definitely heritage, the same, because religion is I think is connected with heritage too.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yes,
my point of view.
heritage is like culture. It comes in all these formats and meanings. Okay. For example, something very interesting for Spanish tourists in Portugal. We also find a meaning in not only in construction but in destruction. When we pass the facades and we see there are buracos or it's a little bit deteriorated by time. Many people, for example in Lisbon, says, it's wonderful. It's this air of decadency, it's wonderful. This is what many tourists say about Lisbon. But what Lisbon people say is nothing wonderful if azulejo comes out and falls in your head. There's nothing wonderful about that. So we can see how the same things mean such different, the same, in this case, building different things for the local and for the tourist. But it's true that Portugal, for Spanish tourism of other countries that are maybe that has modernized very much, very quick, and has banished all signs of this past or near past, is not the same in the Holzmans and some places. You can after like this kind of, it's a little bit, but it's nice. That's what Joukes says. Okay, so synonyms of cultural mediation coming closer to the anthropological meaning are cultural brokerage. This is by Cohen. It's an author, famous author for tourist anthropology and for guides. He has researched about tourist guides and guiding, and cross-cultural communication. For example, a master program of cross-cultural communication has as an objective to learn about the essential aspect of contacts between cultures while developing strong intercultural communication competences with critical and independent analysis. So, whatever expresses and gives meaning to culture. What is culture for anthropology? A system of symbols, of meanings, of values, of practices, a worldview. These definitions comes for a classical in anthropology, Clifford Geertz, that first, maybe he was not the first, but one of the most famous and successful to suggest culture is about meaning, system of meaning, system of symbols, values. It's a worldview, and ethos. He said ethos and cosmovision, worldview. These are the two. So worldview is how we see the world and how we express the world around us. And ethos is more about values, how we put in order what is good, what is bad, what is better, what is worse. So, as I say, heritage mediates and expresses culture. And heritage, when we talk about heritage, we always, anthropologists, but not all people, think the same way in material and in immaterial heritage. But it's not very common. The first thing that people has in the head when you speak about heritage is monuments. Normally it's monuments. So here we had to highlight that immaterial heritage, music, traditions, know-hows, to how to deal with pottery, for example, that we are going to see in Visayaes, how to deal with wine, we are going also to see this course, how to deal with water, and the same way the heritage have many different ways to be expressed, to be communicated. So we find as audiovisual means virtual guides, audio guides, documentaries, fiction, films also. As graphic interpretations, we find them in museums, we find the book guides, but also the romances, the novels, diaries. It's very important sometimes a film or a romance for the developing of a cultural root. For example, it has happened that mainstream, we can call it, cultural way to St. James, to Santiago, in Portugal, has started to change because of a book, a bestseller written by a German writer and pilgrim himself, who has said, okay, I took another alternative and it was so fantastic that applies here. So people read the books, and the next year when the 3,000 to say something, Germans was going to the coastal way, they can start to go to the inland way because of a book or a film. Okay, so in St. James Ways we have many examples. Shirley MacLaine wrote a famous book that had a very great impact in pilgrims from United States. We have Paulo Coelho, very important for Portuguese speaking and for Brazilians, of course. We have this, I was speaking about a German writer. He has written, I don't know if I remember well his surname, but we will say it later. Something like Speaker German, strange surname. But he had also a program in TV. So this is something that reinforced the book, the program in TV, after they had made the movie, the film. So it has really have an impact, a great impact in the German pilgrims going to St. James. So, for example, if I thought in doing a route or in doing an alternative, I would really think about writing myself a romance or a novel or a book guide or doing a contest to gather good tales about this route, this alternative or this new route, or pay maybe or suggest some writer that has done. Writer now, it can be a writer, it can be a YouTuber also. This is the new influential people. So we know, for example, in Turin's important cases of YouTuber is the cities of Carolina, for example. We have a YouTuber that go to cities and is write about cities, and it's followed by many people and makes also some impact in the tourism of these cities. Okay, heritage performances. It's of course something very natural in principle, but there is also these festivals and this discussion in anthropology if the traditional ways of performing heritage are a little bit like staged, like do it for the tourist. So sometimes we can different between performance for tourists or authentical performances, if you want. If there is not tourists maybe around, or it's not thinking about tourists. For example, very important to distinguish in this is the ones that are done between the week, not in weekend, but between the week, normally have a local public, not many people from abroad, and are maybe more authentic. There are villages in Spain that has forbidden the tourism presence in some traditions. They really want to preserve the most they can this not only the expression but this feeling that is created collectively between the community that may be a little bit fragile also if there is a big public aside. So I understand also this refraining and this preserving. Now you know that tourism is starting to be a big problem in some places, in some cities. Lisbon is starting, Barcelona, it's already a big case study, Venice, it's a problem also with tourism. Malala in some way, there is some tourism also very centered in drinking and partying and not respecting the customs and the uses of the place. So it's something that we have also to take attention and to have in mind, okay? Art expressions also are very important to present heritage and to propose new interpretations, maybe to present heritage in a critical way, or in looking for other meanings. Okay, so we will see some example also. Objects, very important, is the commercial expressions of tourists, the souvenirs. It's really a viral phenomenon and an iconic phenomenon. It's creating the mark. The souvenir is what we call in linguistical terms synecdoche. Synecdoche, they take the part to express the totality. So, for example, Spain for the rest of the world during many years, during the dictatorship and after, has been the flamenco, Sevillana custom, and even the puppet Sevillana, and the bullfights and the bulls. So this has started to change it, but it still remains a little bit like this, because it's very funny. Some colleagues from the University of Santiago has studied that foreign people in Santiago, the thing that they ask the most for eating is not polvo galega, polvo feire, it's paella. Paella is something, in any case, from the Levante part of and the most they drink is not Ribeiro, it's sangria, because paella and sangria has become these souvenirs, synecdoches of Spain and Spain gastronomy, like a little bit bacalhau with Portugal, and as we will see also with sardines. So it's very, very curious. These are phenomena really interesting. And of course, personal guides, official and unofficial guides, are also mediating culture and heritage. Okay, in museums we still find normally this kind of presentation of a picture or a sculpture or an object, and a little label here with a text. The thing, 15 lines, 300 words. The question is, does people read in museums? Does people read in museums? Do you read in museums?
At the beginning.
At the beginning? Normally, probably the first salas of the museums are the ones that get the most attention, and the last. It's very important really to ask these questions for us. It's very important to do public research, public studies. Same thing with museums, of tour guides, or whatever we are doing. It's very important to have the feedback of the people. I have never been asked by, for example, some interviewer after a museum how I thought about it, or thanks God that they didn't ask me what do you have in your mind about what you saw in the museum, because sometimes there's so many things, so many pictures, so many objects, so many words and labels that you probably retain too little. So sometimes it's true, as the guides also are going to tell us, that less is more. Less is more. So it's very interesting really to know what is happening with museums, with public in museums, how it's going to change, how it's changing really. And we will have during this course also some reflections in situ in some museums to speak to receive the visit, to the guide visit to the museum, and think about and watch and observe and reflect about museums and guide and mediation in museums. We have this other object of these book guides to translate the things we find in museums. We have, as we say, travel books and guidebooks, many guidebooks still in paper, and some guidebooks more and more used in internet. As I was saying, these are the books that have an impact in the tourist flows and in the knowledge of the St. James, the Camino de Santiago. Shirley MacLaine, Paulo Coelho, Happe Kerkeling, this is the German writer. The title of the book, Losing and Finding Myself on the Camino de Santiago. I'm off then. And this is Kim Nan-hee, A Woman Traveling Alone, also a book doing impact in Korean public and Korean pilgrims. So, very important. Films. This is an indie film, a Bollywood film. It's now dealing with Camino de Santiago, but with two very important cultural expressions and feasts in Spain. La Tomatina. This is nothing very traditional, but probably it's based on other feasts where it's very normal, no? That people throw, like for example in Cáceres we have the winter feast and people throw nabos to the jarramplas. But this is for other things. It's to take the evil. Probably in Trasos Montes we have something very similar, the mascaradas, the mascaradas feasts. So this is like a representation of the devil, and it's thrown out of the town with nabos. Que yo sepa son nabos. A lo mejor han metido las zanahorias también. ¿No? Son nabos, ¿no? Okay, the other was San Fermines in this film, okay? San Fermin is probably, with the Camino de Santiago, the cultural expression most international in Spain. Because also Orson Welles, Hemingway, and many others. Okay, this is an example of art mediating heritage. These crystal shoes symbolizing arriving to Santiago to the end of the trail of the Camino. Okay, some theoretical and methodological concerns. Are you following me? We are more or less passing through the siesta time with some attention still to my words. I would be very happy. Okay. So I would like to say a little bit about the World Federation of Tourist Guide Association, what they write in the Code of Guiding Practice. Okay, they say that a good guide practice have to provide a professional service to visitors, professional in care and commitment, and this is what I highlight, professional in providing an objective understanding of the place visited, free from prejudice or propaganda. And they have to ensure that as far as possible, what is presented as fact is true, and that a clear distinction is made between this truth and stories, legends, traditions, or opinions. Okay. What anthropologists know is that values are the lenses through which we see and understand the reality and read history, okay? So as long as there are different systems of values, there are different interpretations, or if you want, different realities. So what is pretended to be a good practice from the international guide or World Federation of Tourist Guide Association, it's really difficult to do, not to say impossible. Indeed, what tourist anthropology had observed and proved and studied is that often guides contribute to build the tourist gaze, the ollar do turista, la mirada del turista, folklorizing places and people, over-highlighting ethnic and exotic traits, selecting and hiding places. They really are mediating, not only expressing what people is, but also, first of that, selecting and taking these people here and not there. So they will see this and not that. Okay? So there is a definition for anthropologists as cultural translator. They say anthropologists are cultural translator. And really, I would say that the tour guide is also a cultural translator, but as well a cultural communicator. Because anthropologists, we do communicate culture, but once in a while, writing a monography or appearing in a documentary. But this is something that tour guides do every day, most of the time. What anthropologists do to fight, to be conscious about that there is not one reality, no one truth. We at least are conscious, we take consciousness of the ethnocentrism, of our ethnocentric sociocultural biases. Our personal equation. That means that I am, as an anthropologist, aware that the things that somebody tells me in an interview, for example, a woman, a 50 years old woman, it's going to be very different from the things that she would tell to a woman, for example, and a young lady or a 50 years woman as well. So it's very, we have an influence with our personal equation, gender, age, social class, background, educative background, professional background. This makes the difference of what people is telling me. So we are conscious and we care about that. For example, a good anthropology would be done by at least two people, a woman and a man. That would be perfect to study like a complex or a community. Okay, and we care and we are very fond of cultural relativism. What is cultural relativism? Is to know that we cannot judge with our cultural values all other cultural expressions, as well as we cannot judge history, the things that happened maybe 400 years ago, without taking a little bit the knowledge of what was there, and what people thought and had in mind in that time, that that we have now that they didn't have. Okay, so for example, cultural relativism is to say, okay, to eat insect is not such a bad or barbarian custom, because it's normal that in some places they eat this, it's because they didn't have many others, or it's in the cultural tradition or whatever, or they have been. But there is a limit for cultural relativism. It's, for example, where human rights as a universal consensus, or at least the minimum consensus between cultures and countries reach. We say, okay, we can understand the customs of other cultures as long as they don't damage the human rights. So we can say, okay, I can be a cultural relativist, but I cannot understand or I cannot accept ablation, for example. Ablation, you understand? Ablación en español, ablación, ¿cómo es? Clitoris amputation, okay? This, we cannot understand that. We cannot understand gender violence in any way, even it is a tradition in many patriarchal cultures, and we have it a little bit in everywhere. So we have this constant reflexive surveillance and an empathy and a relativism effort. Let's see some examples and case studies. As I say, there are different ways of understanding heritage and culture. I want to speak about opposite narrative, about conflicting heritage, this heritage that gathers opposite narratives or discourses on itself, on the heritage. I want to ask you.
Hello.
Welcome. Hello, Rosie. We were a little bit worried about you. We didn't know. Welcome. Very good. Very nice. Very nice to meet you too. I am Martín. We are starting really. We have presented a little bit the course, and we are in the middle of the first communication.
Now that you're interrupting, I had a phone call. Very good news also, because Aphrodite and the Greek girls immediately catch the bus. So I will leave within half an hour to pick them up at the bus station.
Very well. Very well. So it's in the group, it's increasing. This is always good news.
We are growing.
We are growing. No, it's good really because there is an effort behind. It's true that we always try to disseminate and to reach people, but it's really hard to do it. So we are very, very glad to be here and to have you here. Okay, so I'm asking if you know, to do it a little bit interactive, examples, cases of conflicting heritage, of cultural heritage where we find opposite discourses, opposite views. What can you think about in your region or in your country?
Dilo en español y ya te contesto yo.
Deberías, es que te pusieras al lado del traductor, te podría ir.
Solo quiere estar conmigo hoy.
What do you mean?
Cases of cultural heritage, examples of cultural heritage, material or immaterial, where there is some position saying this is good or bad or this is this way, but you find another people or percentage of population that says this is wrong or this is the other way.
You've got a good example in Spain now. Everybody, there are a lot of people thinking that bullfighting is an art. There's more and more people in Spain thinking that this is more cruelty than art. So I think that in Spain we've got nothing like this. Or San Fermines, as you were saying before. Many people see San Fermines like a big thing, and there are other people thinking that we should be ashamed of what they do there. So,
good examples. More?
And another example, I was thinking of the concert of Ariana Grande in Manchester. So she's an idol for lots of European girls. And then the Islamic State thinks she's a big horror, giving this example, with singing without clothes. So they do this attack on her. I think can you accept this also?
Yes, it's not really cultural heritage, but it's a cultural expression really, and with conflicting. Yes. For example, we know now, because of queries, that never before the generations in Spain have been so separated, politically speaking, because they really have a gap between the new political parties and the old, and the people, young people, old people, and so on. Any more examples?
Sí. Yeah.
Isidro, we can translate. No? More?
I was thinking of the German Wall. Some people respected it, and then at a certain time it went down.
Mm-hmm.
They broke it down.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. As Marco said, bullfights, it's in Spain something very present now. But also any tradition involving animals. Now it's very strong, the animalist movement. I don't know if it's the translation animalist, or is that? Okay, people defending the dignity of animals. And in Spain, I think as in Portugal, many traditions used to have some animal as a protagonist. Still some have. The donkey in the Peropalo, for example, we have a tradition in Extremadura still involving a donkey that is many number of people taking the donkey from here to there, putting over, so the donkey has a little stressing time, but still is there. In our village, Sierra de Fuentes, we had the quintos, tradition that still develops, doing things with the goat, also having the time with the goat, taking the goat from here to there, and it's over. We had many other with ducks, and chickens, very cruel traditions.
You've got in Japan, there's a place, I think it's a small village, where they force dolphins to go to a beach, and they are slaughtered and killed in order to, I don't know what they do with the dolphins' meat. They eat them, or the fling, how do you say the fin, I'm sorry, the fin. They do something because I think it's a sort of aphrodisiac thing or something like that, and it's something really cruel. And they go to the sea with boats, and they actually force dolphins to go to one beach. And once they are trapped in the beach and they cannot escape, they are killed. And it's really terrible. And they do it in Japan once a year. Yeah, I don't know exactly what it is. I can look it up in my telephone.
And it's still happening.
Yeah.
Probably it will find also opposition, as this is like a global movement, no? The dignity for animals and all that. Even the bullfights, yes, we have it here. Okay, other case now about material heritage is monuments from totalitarian regimes. Sometimes they want to preserve, for example, a prison or a place where a concentration camp, but other people would like to banish forever and rip off every little stone of these places. No? It's normal, but we have some cases like Auschwitz that it's now very visited heritage, no monument. Okay, in Spain we have many times polemics with the names decoring streets and places if they come from the Franquist regime. Many socialist governments would like to banish not only the names of the places, sometimes the statues, and other people say, okay, I am not really nothing agree with what these people did, but the name of the place has been there also after the dictatorship and is in the memory of many people. So maybe it's not so bad to preserve it. It's really true that it could be a more evil or more wrong man, general or whatever, but they have been in all periods of history, and they are also decoring the names and the streets.
Can I tell you something about that? What you have said.
Yes, please.
Maybe some of you don't know it, but in Spain, one of the worst moments in the Spanish Civil War was the slaughter of Badajoz. In Badajoz, there were over 4,000 people killed in 2 days, which was like 10% of the population. And that killing of people was ordered by a man called Yahweh, who was the General Yahweh. One day in a tour, I had a lady, actually in the city where I live and I work, there's a palace where Franco was named head of the state and head of the army during the Civil War. And when I began to be a tour guide, I usually explained what happened at that house. But there was always a problem. There were people pro and against those inscriptions. And people said, why that inscription is there? And some others saying, why that inscription is not removed? And when you were saying now that they've been in there after the Civil War and so on, one day at the end of the tour, a lady came to me and told me my father and my brother were killed in Badajoz by Yahweh. And after the war, the street where we lived changed the name to Street General Yahweh. And the lady was telling me, maybe you can understand now why I want these names to be removed. Because living in the street, who has the name of the person who killed your father and your brother, is so painful that I think that that's a good reason for removing those things. So that's when you begin to understand to the people claiming for removing such things, because for many people that's too painful. Probably the case of this lady was too extreme, but that shows how painful some things might be related to monuments or streets being called after people like this one. So I just wanted to say
yes, very, thank you very much. It's really a very important intervention. It's about generations. It's still the effects of the Civil War in Spain. It's not removed from the generation. Maybe we need still 2 or 3 more generations. It's true that I think children now don't have many things to do with Civil War, but there are still many people looking for their parents in the cunetas, in the shoulders of the streets, in the sides, in the margins of the streets of many villages. And it was a relevant, famous case now that a woman had been waiting for 40 years to discover her parent in one of these common burials, and she found her. So it's really incredible. For example, something very funny between Portugal and Spain is this disputes about naturality.
It's Portuguese, of course.
Mediators space.
But I'm sorry.
For me, it's Portuguese, for you, it's Spanish.
I can perfectly accept that he was Portuguese and born in Portugal, but I can tell you I have seen his statue in many cities in Spain saying that he was born there. So I have seen that he was born in Zamora. I have seen that he was born in some place there also. In Korea also, so many places in close to the border really claim Viriato's paternity, naturality.
If Viriato could come back to life, he would probably look at us a little bit like not understanding anything, because Spain and Portugal didn't exist when he lived. So he was Iberian. From the Iberian Peninsula.
And probably he was born somewhere between nowhere now, maybe.
Okay, we can get the deal. Half Portuguese, half Spanish.
We can say he was born. We can say he was born in Spain and he was killed in Portugal. Okay, so we can do a museum for the birthplace and a museum for the killing place of Viriato. No, but really, for example, in Viseu, they have a great area there that they call it Viriato's camp, you know? And it's a place very interesting also to maybe to think about some museum or some heritage intervention.
In Viseu, sorry to interrupt.
No, okay.
The association of the ceremony with new students, the boss we call Viriato. The girl or the boy who sent the activities to the new one is called Viriato. I know them because I met some of them.
Okay, very well. We can go on a little bit. Another case, very sadly famous in the last years, was these Buddhas of Bamiyan, how they really attract world attention, and even I think because of that also they were also they had this tremendous end. I don't know if they have rebuilt them now, but they really put bomb after bomb during days and days until they became like that. Okay. Cultural mediation is also, as we said about souvenirs, a process of marketing, selling places to visitors. And for that, city managers select tractor elements, okay? A tractor element can be, for example, in Extremadura, in many places, the jamón ibérico, a food product. Can be the sardines cans, sardines en lata. Can be a saint, like Santiago, o Teresa de Jesús in Ávila, or San Juan de la Cruz.
So you are saying that like Gallo of Barcelos is a tractor element?
Tractor element is to this process of concentrating much energy, we can say, much image production and interlink between stakeholders to everything that you do, a little bit dealing with culture or tourists have a little bit to do with these tractor elements, or they are very important anyway to put this place in the world, esteem, in the world escaparate. No?
So it's Gallo de Barcelos.
Gallo de Barcelos is a souvenir, but can be a tractor element for Barcelos, for example.
Yes, but I already see Gallo of Barcelos in China, for example. So I think it's a tractor element too.
What, the wall?
Because they are transferring Gallo Barcelos to all Portugal and
But
not just...
What did you say? Sorry, because I didn't understand. In China, what?
The Gallo Barcelos growing every people of other countries are knowing how Brussels, and they go there and they bring souvenirs from Brussels.
So, the Gallo of Barcelos, it's a souvenir, it's an icon for Portugal, but it's also a tractor element mostly for Barcelos and the region where it generates the most impact, because people go to Barcelos, okay? Cases of saints, interesting, it's Avila, because we in Culture Plus, as long as we study cultural pilgrimage routes, we are a little bit interested with anything dealing also with tourism, religious tourism, this religious, spiritual tourism also. So we have Guadalupe. Guadalupe, it's very, very interesting case, okay? I will speak a little bit about it later. We have Santiago de Compostela, and we have Fatima, as places. Even in Fatima, we don't have the saint, but we have Beatos. They have been beatified, the children?
Nossa Senhora de Fátima.
Sí, es Virgin de Fatima, yes.
But they are not saints.
But I mean the children that saw the image,
Yeah.
Lucia, have they been beatified? Not yet. They are pretending to. Okay, this is news from. It's not from 2017, as you can see in the, but this is from the archive. It's from the files. It's from 2012. That they were speaking about Avila as a world focus for religious tourism. So it was a tractor element and an integral phenomenon.
Okay, excuse me, I have to pick up the Greek, and probably I will meet you at the Residencia. Just to go there by foot, you have to walk in the direction of the theater, the theater, Mateus and the Portuguese know it, and then you have to go, once you're at the theater, you have to go to the left side of the theater. You don't have to, you are not allowed, it's not possible. The normal way by the street to the Residencia, it doesn't work. You have to go through the park, through the trees, and then you get into the Residencia.
But Mateus can guide us, maybe?
You think you know it? You enter, if you're at the Residencia, normalmente tens um lado da cantina, do lado direito, depois tens 3 prédios do lado esquerdo. Aquele caminho provisório entra lá perto daqueles 3 prédios, mesmo para trás. Mesmo através do parque.
E também uma pistolinha.
Yes, there. Okay, it's through the park. And normally you should show this to the guards. There's a lot of guards, and if you show this, they will believe that you go to the Residencia. Okay? So take one with you. Yet when it's right of where you don't go to the.
This is for dinner?
No, this is just to get to the permission to get into the Residencia. I have for me and the Greek girls.
Thank you.
Okay, so I pick up the Greek girls and I will go to the Residencia.
And they will tell us to each other, to one another, where we are, in what room everything is. No?
Yes, so if you don't want to see the car races, you can go to the Residencia and you can register, you can do the check-in. And there they will tell you what's your room and stuff like that. And we have to be at the snack bar before 7 o'clock. So if they open the doors, then we are the first to eat, because otherwise it will be a big mess and we will lose a lot of time. So we eat at 7 and then we have your class at 8. Most of us, I think everybody will sleep in the middle building, the red one.
Yeah.
Building C, you know it, huh?
Yeah, in the center.
Yeah, in the center, yeah, between the 2 other buildings, okay. But first you have to do the so normally when you arrive, to your right side you have the snack bar and also the place where you have to register. And you really sleep at your left hand to the middle building. You need to give your passport or your identity card because it's given to the Servicios Estrangeiros e Fronteiras. It's check. The police needs to know that you're here with us.
So just at night is going to be extra residencias?
At night it will be easier because the corridors stop and from 8 o'clock you can get there with the car. Is that a question or I
Yes, it's a question. Is to know where is going to be the...
Yes, tonight the session is in the C building at the 4th floor.
Okay.
There is a sala de convívio. It's not great. I have here a tela, and you have a projector, eh? Yeah. So I have a tela, the plastic.
There is the projector.
Great projector. Okay.
Okay, so I take some more minutes and we end and...
Yes, I need time to get there.
Yes. Just to give you also the chance to see the corridas, the one you want to... But I will go a little bit more quick.
It's typical. It's very typical solution.
But I just to show you some examples and we really...
Okay, see what does this
Thank
say?
you, Verokika.
She has like the bag, somebody can put it in the car?
Yes, we
So
have...
now, by IDs, you put it in the car, there is one car, you put it in the car, and you only get it around 10 o'clock at night. So what you really need, take it out, put it there because it's very difficult now, half an hour with the thing into the park.
Thank you.
You don't want to do this. Okay, so...
See you later. Yeah.
4th floor, middle building. First we eat at 7.
Speaking about Portuguese and Spanish, that I have reflected for many years because okay, because it was an issue that I care, and I really the difference. You know what is after years the difference that I found the most important between Portuguese people and Spanish people. For Portuguese people, lunchtime or almuerzo, it's something that happens, it depends if you are in a city or in a village, at 12:30 or 1 o'clock.
Yes.
O'clock.
Yes.
In Spain, lunch, it's something that can happen or cannot happen between the aperitivo and the siesta. So it's a joke, but it really says something about one another people and cultural personality, if you want.
The difference is that you live, you eat to live, and we Portuguese, we live, how to say,
You have to eat to work.
No, we live to eat. We just live because we love to eat, and you just eat what you need. It's the difference.
No, I don't think so.
No?
No, I think we also have the pleasure of eating in Spain. I think there's an eating culture in the country.
Yes, I agree with you, but I think that in Portugal we need to eat often, maybe, because it's during lunch.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
We eat 7 times a day. Believe me.
Okay.
I think some Portuguese eat 7 times or 8 times. Because
We eat all the time.
breakfast,
We eat all the time.
we have after breakfast, we have lunch, and we have in the afternoon two meals, and we have the dinner and after dinner. So
Somehow it's something that okay. We will have the time, of course, to speak of this. It's something that always happens. No? But, okay, so to go on with these cases, with these examples, it's very interesting how the University of Mysticism in Avila has taken advantage of this factual element and really has created this singular building, like a star, and has many different activities, educational activities, masters, courses, weekend courses, virtual courses, souvenirs, guide visits, anything. Around mysticism, not only Santa Teresa and San Juan, Saint John, but also Buddhism, Hinduism. They really do with other cultures. Okay, the case of the Guadalupe. Why is interesting for us, and why is it? It's an anthropological interesting challenge. Because really the Guadalupe, the Virgin of Guadalupe known in the world is the one in the right. It's a Mexican Virgin of Guadalupe. If you put Virgin of Guadalupe in Google image, you won't find the other one, the Extremeñan. This is from Guadalupe, Extremadura. And it's the original one. It was in Hernán Cortés flags when they came the first time in Mexico, but for Mexican people it's unthinkable that what was a symbol of independence, because the Virgen de Guadalupe was taken from the Father Hidalgo as a symbol, the Mexican, of indigenous identity against the virreinato structures and the mestizos and the Spanish there, the criollos. So the challenge is how to make Mexicans and Mexican tourists to see the Extremeñan Guadalupe with any connection or link with their Virgin, with their culture, and to come and visit Guadalupe, Extremadura, that I think is still not very visited by Mexicans themselves. There has been some writings. Proceso, it's a very well-known political magazine in Mexico, and has written about this Virgin, but it's really difficult that you find some Mexican knowing there is a Virgin of Guadalupe in Extremadura, and knowing that it's the first and original and has something to do with their Virgin of Guadalupe. Okay, Santiago, we know a little bit about Caminos de Santiago, St. James Ways, how they are impacting really the city of Santiago, the places near Santiago, because one very interesting thing is that we have like 217,000 pilgrims a year that ask for the Compostela, 217 or 300,000, but 70% start the way 300 kilometers from Santiago. So it's really the great flow, it's in the surroundings, we can say. And only 30% come from Roncesvalles, more or less it's the most, in the French way, the most common origin, and farther, okay? So we have the Sacobean legend that in the past and in the present, as an example of how in the past and in the present, the myths and the legends have served for political strategies, for valuing cultural heritage, and for really attracting tourists. Really, we can say the Códice Callisto Codex He's a Calistino. It's a guide, a tour guide for the first pilgrims traversing Spain to Santiago from France. And we can see the very different souvenirs that have been created because of Santiago. The pilgrim, the pipe, the bagpipe.
And the meaning of the shell?
Shell, it was for
Just
drinking water, but it's also something that you come to a place near the sea. So it was Finisterre anyway, and Finisterre it was the sea, where they can take a shell to demonstrate in the coming back they have done the pilgrimage. They can also take the shell from other pilgrims or whatever, but it was like a stamp, like what today is the Compostela. No? The Camino itself and the signals, it's very interesting. The saint, of course, the cell is called Vieira in Gallego. Even the rain, the constant rain in Galicia, that in Basque Country we call Sirimiri, it's also a souvenir. It's also an icon. No? The cross, the letter Tau, the yellow arrow. The yellow arrow, it's incredible how it has become, no, itself a souvenir, an icon. The game of the oca, we say, Juego de la oca, well, in translation. Okay, you know this game. Yeah. The pain is also in the souvenirs. The university, as a university city.
In English it said the game of the goose.
The game of the goose. Obrigado. Thanks, Martín. And we have these curious hyper-references, hybridations. Do you recognize this picture? Beatles. Yo tuve en Santiago. I was in Santiago. Yo tuve en Santiago. Estuve en Galicia with the letters of Estrella Galicia. This is very important. If you have the luck that you have a mark and it's take as a souvenir, you have free marketing forever. So it's very interesting also for companies to think about souvenirizing their products. Okay, and to end with Fatima, 8 million people, visitors expected for the whole year of 2017. It's also conflicting heritage because many people say it's a religious place, other people say it's faith industry, moving millions. In the last visit of Pope Francisco, they were asking for 1,000 euros for a hotel room. It's really incredible. Some call it a religious theme park. We have these images from the miracles, from the apparitions. We have this. This is like something from the past, but with present rules, because they sell you the rodilleras, let's say, for the joellos, the protections for the. They sell it. They put from where you have to put on your knees and to walk on your knees. So it's something atavic, but also regulated. This is the candle. It's incredible. It's really a circular economy business. You buy the candle here, you burn it there, the wax
Melts down.
melt down, they
They
collect it and they make again. So it's really a machine making money with not production, but recycling. Okay, we have an important person in Portugal criticizing Fatima manifestation and Fatima management, and he's a Father Mario de Oliveira wrote this book, Fatima Nunca Mais, and he says, I have reached the conclusion after many years of seeing people crawling by trails with such sacrifice and suffering, and when they reach there, stripping off everything, even their dignity as human beings, that Fatima was not faith, but a great manifestation of fear. It's an opinion, very strong opinion.
Have you been there?
I've been in Fatima. I have recorded some things also. I have reflected about some things also. I am monitor, I am professor of Qigong, Chinese therapy, and I felt, not because I do Qigong, but maybe I felt some energy in the capilla, very intense. Also the smellings, but also the energy, something that it was, because so many people have been there praying with such intensity for their parents, their daughters, children, themselves.
So many people said that they saw the Mother of Christ there, so I also feel something, some energy outside, of course, like everywhere else where you have saints like Santiago Compostela. They also sell many things, and but we feel something.
I think that energy somehow makes it remains a little bit. It makes a mark in the place. And
maybe the faith of people.
The faith of people, the energy, the faith, the intensity. So even when the miracle was more or less made up or not, after so many praying, so many years of praying, I think this place really has something.
I think it's fantastic people, if people have faith or not. Because I think if the people don't believe in God, they will not go to Fatima. They will stay at home. But people who have faith, they go.
Yes,
It's a very beautiful monument. You can visit.
I don't say it's not a beautiful monument, but just say, when the gathering, too many people, they go by faith, not by visiting. Okay, some people can go, but out of the way of the religious time. They can go, okay, visit, but not for faith. Just a monument.
There is a classical debate, discussion about, for example, pilgrims. If they are pilgrims or they are tourists, or they are a little bit pilgrims, a little bit tourists, half, or what happens. But we know that many people start the pilgrimage with some motivations, and at the end of the pilgrimage they have transformed themselves, and their initial motivation may have changed, and for example what initially was a sport motivation ends maybe with a strong spiritual feeling and motivation to do it again or to do others, or in the last stages they have feel really that, and they want really to go to the saint to pray or to feel. Even when they don't practice, they are not Catholics practice, but they really, the pilgrimage, walking one day, another, Marco will know it better than no one, that it really transforms sometimes the individual, the people. So, to summarize and conclude a little bit what we have been talking about, culture, history, heritage are objects of multiple expressions, readings, and interpretation. There is no one objective version, there is no one truth. Now they call about the post-truth period, epoch. Falamos muito en España pos-verdade. Aquí falase da pos-verdade. I don't know really still what really means. But in fact there are different but also opposite interpretations of heritage that generate conflict. Cultural mediation means many things, but in an ample sense we think of everything and everyone that expresses and explains culture through many different formats. Commercial processes and marketing in the building of places and marks select symbols to make souvenirs impacting deeply in the image of these places. Anthropologists are cultural translators, guides are cultural translators and communicators, as we are going to see very well in this course, and they are also ambassadors, because many times they are the only local people that foreigners meet. So they have an extra responsibility or an extra weight to their labor. So I think even when they have been many times dismissed in the tourist industry, they have such a relevant role and work and labor that I think we should really take care about education with guides and about updating and about having an anthropological background also. And they should share the same concerns about an anthropologist, about cultural relativism, ethnocentric biases, and personal equation. No more for now. You have my email there, address, mgunex.is. Thank you very much for your attention, obrigadinho. I'm very glad really to have started with these issues and to leave open lines for debate and lines for speaking and talking. So now we can really, if you want, go to see a little bit of the corridas, of the cars, ¿cómo es? Carreras. And if you want, the ones you want, we can go to the residence and take a little rest. Thank you very much. If you want, I didn't say that you don't want even now to ask or comment or whatever. Otherwise, we will have plenty of time.